Welcome back to Transmission on Bent TV. I'm Sammy Cameron, and today we're talking about relationships. Joining me today are Isabelle, Kurt and Grace. Thank you for joining me today.
Sammy.
So when do you come out as trans to your intended partner in a potential new relationship?
Well, it depends on what stage you are of transition, I guess. There are lots of different factors it depends on.
Yeah, I've been dating online a little bit recently, and in that space I have to come out, whereas in person usually it's kind of apparent, so that's been a curious change for me, and fairly early.
So I think the best thing to do is, as early as possible, actually, because if you leave it and then you reveal something like this to somebody, it can be quite challenging for them.
So what are the advantages of disclosing earlier versus later?
Less of a shock to response sometimes, I think. And also it may be that the relationship actually isn't going to work because of, your status.
So get it over and done with there and then, rather than falling in love and then
wasting time.
And also it's kind of relevant, at least for me, to who I am, It's like that's kind of something that's worth knowing, because you're not really seeing me if you're not seeing that I'm trans. In my case, I don't want to speak for everyone.
What are some of the special relationship challenges for someone who has a partner that's transitioning?
Well, I've got a partner at the moment, and I was with her before my transition. I've always been transgender up here, but have only been transitioning for 2 years now, and we've had some challenges to get through. A lot of the time she finds it hard that it's all about me all the time. So I try to recognise that she's going through certain things as well, and I need to support her because it's not all about me. We're a couple and we do things as a team. But I'm lucky enough to have a partner who loves me for me and not for what I am.
So what are some of the challenges we face that being trans can have when we're actually searching for love?
I think narrow-minded people, they're in the world, and it's...
Do you think that people are anxious about the uncertainty of what this person is going to be?
Yeah, absolutely, and also finding someone that you like, you don't know necessarily what they want. They might want someone with a penis, or who, might not necessarily look like a man, or the other way around. You don't know what they're after, and if what you've got is what they want.
So I guess the standard thing about love is that we should love the person, shouldn't we? Rather than, anything else about people.
Well, yeah, that's absolutely true. But obviously, if you are transitioning, there's a lot of change that actually the other person has somehow got to go along on that journey with you, and it's not really something that they necessarily chose to. So one of the sort of issues and challenges you can come up to is that even if you disclose early, the other partner may feel, well, I didn't fully understand what this was all about until they actually start seeing it. So it's quite challenging. It's hard for them too.
And I think it's a different journey for the other person. In fact,
Absolutely.
It's a different journey for everybody else in our lives.
Yep.
And it is very much about just me. It really is, because it's so intense what we have to go through to deal with this.
I think also I would suggest that there are lots of people out there who really, really like trans people. Like, I've never had any shortage of finding people who are really thrilled to have that experience. Like, I don't think it's something that we always need to think about as being a negative that needs to be divulged. It can be like, there are a lot of people who are like,
into it.
Yeah.
Is online dating worth looking into? You said you've looked at it, or do you think meeting friends and hopefully falling in love with someone is a better way to go?
Well, I'm old-fashioned, so I think, the face-to-face meetings and contacts really are better, and I think that sort of works, especially from the sort of trans perspective, where you've got a much better opportunity to explain and express, who you are and what you're trying to achieve and why you do, or why you look like you do, or why you feel the way you do. So I think you can explain a lot more, and people are quite interested, if they can talk to you face to face, if they can ask you those questions and have that sort of dynamic sort of interchange. I think that's a really good way to go.
Because I think a couple of words on a website is an easy filter.
Yeah, it's a bit stereotypical, isn't it? You're going to get people perhaps who are searching specifically for something.
Yeah. Also, face-to-face is a lot more honest, where online you can make yourself look like whatever you want to portray yourself as, but face-to-face is the real you, and there's, mistakes in conversations and awkwardness, which is really good and what you need, to be honest.
Well, I would say those things happen online, and people certainly misrepresent themselves in person. I'm kind of think that both meeting people, I've had lovers who I've met face-to-face, and I've had lovers I've met online, and I see them as kind of, in many ways, much of a muchness. I wouldn't preclude one for the other.
Do some trans people feel more comfortable dating other trans people? You come across people?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I know a lot of trans guys who sleep with other trans guys, and they tell me that the connection, there's nothing like that sort of connection with anybody else, because they know exactly how each other's bodies are going to respond, and similar inside their heads as well.
Okay.
We do see, trans people do tend to get together in relationships quite often. Probably also because it's a safe space. Yeah, I think that you're with somebody who kind of does understand your experience. And in a sense, you're coming out, but you're not coming out in the relationship. It's rather different.
I guess there's a whole lot of things you don't need to explain to your potential partner.
Right.
And all those things that are in common. What about the risk of physical danger for a trans person? And this tends to affect women more than it does men, the physical danger for a trans person seeking to get into a romantic relationship.
Well, look, there's always a potential risk for anybody trans in terms of being singled out by people that are not very tolerant of the situation. So I guess, we all have got to adopt sort of safe behaviours in terms of how we socialise, where we go, who we communicate with on the internet, and what we reveal about ourselves before we actually get, involved or start meeting people physically.
I think for trans men, it is, there is danger there, but certainly less than ladies. I am lucky enough to have a partner, so I haven't really got any experience on that one.
Wow. Yeah, I think, there are douchebags in the world, but I think if you kind of adopt a certain amount of kind of responsible kind of, what is the word?
Must be, look at the person you're talking to decide whether
kind of be a little aware. It's not such a bad thing.
And I guess we're pretty lucky that we don't get exposed to these things too much in where we live.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank Isabelle, Kurt and Grace for joining us today. I'm Sammy Cameron on transmission for Bent TV. I look forward to seeing you next time.